And we're Blaq2Reality.
Are we going? Okay.
We're on. Welcome back to me.
I'm
Welcome
happy because now Chaz is back
Welcome
and I don't have
back
to
to
do a
me.
Blaq1Reality. It's back to Blaq2Reality.
Black,
You
black,
can hear both
black.
our black ass opinions.
To reality.
all
Did you
up and
miss
through
me?
this thing. I did. It was such a struggle for me to do the whole thing by my lonesome. I did not like it.
You made it.
I
You made
tried.
it. I was on a plane when you were recording.
Yes.
Actually, I was running late.
Ooh.
Per usual. I ran. You know, in the airport, like you can't be loud anymore. You can't run in the airport. You can't do any of those things anymore in the airport.
Yeah,
But you
they
should
got
have
real
saw
strict
me.
with
My
it.
black ass was running, and I made it right before they closed the door on me.
And honey, why were you out north?
I was up north because I was invited. One of my friends, Fong and I, poet. By the way, I do want to get a tattoo of runaway on me somewhere.
Runaway slave?
Not runaway slave, but runaway. But it is giving like homage to to slavery. And anyways, I was out there. I was invited with Fong to be a poet, a keynote, and get a panelist and workshop presenter
Making
for
money move.
Los Medanos College.
Los Morenos?
Medanos.
Oh.
Los Morenos College. No. Los Medanos College up north, like 30 minutes away from Oakland.
Oh,
so I was invited to be there, and it was really great for their student activist conference. So it was a wonderful,
very
wonderful
close
time.
to a lot of activism has started and rooted
in the Bay.
Yeah,
in the Bay. This is true.
So it was pretty much a broad topic, but just rooted in activism.
Yeah, rooted in student activism.
Activism.
Yes. So the scholars there. And it was really great. The keynote was really wonderful. We shared some poetry. You know, my poems talk about like identity, politics, and also like futurity. But one piece
futurity?
Like
I've
think
never
about the
heard of
future and like
I never heard that word before, but I like it.
And so what I was going to say? Oh, it was really great. Fong and I we went back and forth of doing our own poetry, and then we ended up with a poem that we did together called "Don't Be an Activist," and we made a white woman cry and leave out of anger.
Wait, are you fucking serious? No. Was she the only one?
The only one that got angry? No, there was a few other white folks there.
Wait, she got was it like tears of sadness or tears of anger?
Tears of They were white tears. They were white tears. So it was like, like, why you always talking about white people? Well, specifically, Fong has this wonderful piece that's looking at gentrification, and he calls it "Dear White Hipsters." And after this piece, she was like, "Why are you only focusing on culture appropriation for white people? Like other people can culture appropriate too." And then Fong was like, "True, yes, we can culture appropriate. All cultures can do that." But then he gave his reason of like how this particular piece focused on whiteness because he's talking about gentrification in these predominantly non-white communities, and how, anyways, he gave it a reason. She was upset, very upset.
So the audience was able to give like a
and that's the thing. It was the Q&A. The Q&A was supposed to be at the end, but she you know what?
She took her privilege, and I'm gonna start it right now.
She's like, I'm triggered, and so I'm gonna interrupt and ask a question. And I was like, oh, we're gonna do Q&A at the end. Then Fong is more sympathetic to people.
Okay.
Or he was that day. And so he gave her the mic, which she took about 4 to 5 minutes to ask her questions, to say all those things. I had to cut her off. Respectfully.
Damn, I wish I could fucking see that shit.
Yeah, and it was so sad because afterwards, people of color came up to us. They really liked our work. They really liked the thing that we said. And one person came up to me. She was crying because she was like, it's so upsetting to see white people when they get upset that they can just check out and leave. And how we cannot check out on oppression. We cannot check out on like racism. And we are affected. We get upset. We cry. But we still have to live in this. And she was like, I was like, I hear you. And I'm thinking about writing a piece about that because that's true.
They can just check out and leave. Yeah. And yeah.
Yeah, so that was kind of a highlight.
And then you have to console them. That's what I don't like. Is the fact that they're the root of the problem, but then they consoling
cry. Yeah, then you gotta be like, no, it's not you. It's okay.
Anyways,
the Bay was wonderful. I missed the Bay.
Oh, I wish I could have went.
Shout out to my friends out there, Chucha, Fernando, Carlos, and everybody who I didn't see, but they love that I was out there. Oh, Tori, Liz, Giannica, Olivia, Joanna. That's it. And now I'm back, and I'm glad to be here with you.
Beautiful, beautiful.
How you doing?
So, I was lost without you. I didn't do anything.
Live.
But I did get a chance to watch the Bobby Christina story over the weekend.
Oh, yeah.
And it was not on Lifetime, but it was still Lifetime-y. It was on TV1, which is an extension of BET now, I think.
Thought it was on Showtime because Whitney's thing was on Showtime, right?
No,
Whitney's documentary?
It was on TV1. It for sure was on TV1. It wasn't bad. It kind of was like extension of the documentary of Can I Be Me, that Whitney Houston one that I showed you, which was
on Showtime, right?
Yeah, it really just but you know I don't have. So I don't know what that one is. The only reason why I know the other one was on TV1 was because it had the logo while I was watching it.
Right.
So it said like TV1 the whole time it was on there.
When it was on Showtime, because I told Mama to watch it, and Mama had Showtime, and I was like, go demand it.
And it was really, really good.
It was so good.
This particular one was more focused on her relationship with Whitney. But it started when Whitney died. And so it was her struggle through her death, struggle, the mourning, and then also her relationship with her brother that turned into her boy. I did not know. Did you know about that?
It was like her.
It was a play brother, but it was but she still was in her life for a long time, and then I'd never heard of this guy, but
I did, yeah.
It talked about that and the interaction with the family and whatnot, and so it was okay. It wasn't bad.
Okay, was it like TLC? Was it like Aaliyah?
Did you like TLC?
Movie?
Yeah.
I can't say that I did.
I didn't like Aaliyah.
Okay, there we go. Yeah.
Was like...
It was better than Aaliyah.
It was better than Aaliyah.
So what about this one?
It was better than TLC.
Okay. Was it like Whitney's movie from Lifetime?
No. Angela Bassett was behind that, wasn't she? No.
Okay, so it
was a level below that.
Okay.
So that's just my honest opinion. I think you might like it. I mean, I think you might appreciate what they were trying to do. That's the best way to put it.
And what was it called?
Bobby Christina story. So it's pretty easy.
That story is so sad.
It was just really sad, and that's probably the reason why I was just kind of like, because the whole thing consisted of flashbacks to her mom, and then her interaction with her mom and her father, and then the death, and it was just really like solemn, like just So yeah.
Damn. Well, that was your highlight of the weekend.
That was about it. And I'm excited about The Rock because his fine ass is going to have a spin-off of The Fast and the Furious called The Hobbs, and it's going to be focused on, I guess, more of his life, or I don't know if it's going to be like a prelude or whatever, but I'm excited about seeing his big, black, bold, and beautiful self on the screen for 2 hours.
Oh, I wrote him off ever since I found out he was a Republican.
He is not Republican.
Google it.
Why? I'm about to jump out this window right now. I cannot.
Your whole world popped. Yes.
Oh, why are you doing this to me?
Exactly.
Oh my God, he's not Republican.
He's a Republican. Yes, but I did like him in Moana. But other than that, I consciously like,
his fine ass. Oh my God, and he just clapped back at Tyrese.
Yeah, he did.
He's been really, really. Miss Tarika has been really going through it, honey. I don't know why.
Tariq is not in the movie?
Of course not. I don't know why he really thought like he was...
Because he's in all of them.
No. Well, okay, the reason why they're making a spinoff is because...
spinoff.
Yes, is because The Rock brought a certain, crowd that wasn't necessarily there for the Fast and the Furious. He made the franchise even bigger. And so, of course, he has his own production company. Of course, he's going to have, the $7 Studios or something like that. Yes, The Rock. Yes. So he has his own, little,
his
production company. Yeah. So, of course, if they're going to be presented with, him getting... Because the thing is, it's even I feel like Vin Diesel and other people associated are still going to get a chunk of the money because they are part of
the franchise.
Anything that spins off, it's kind of like how Oprah still gets money off the Dr. Oz and Dr. Phil.
Well, yeah, but because is Tyrese getting that money?
No, I think that's why his panties are in the bunch, honey.
He's upset.
He's upset. So it was funny to see the clap back and him actually thinking that he can beat up The Rock, trying to
Oh, that's what that was.
Yeah,
The
that's
Rock had a video
so
of him
funny.
exercising.
Yes,
and
that's
barking.
why it's so funny because it's come on, Tyrese. So yes.
What's the movie called? Do you know?
It says The Hobbs. The Hobbs. I don't really like that name.
I stopped watching Fast and Furious on episode.
Really?
Movie 3.
It got good when he came in.
Yeah, that's why I'm I don't remember The Rock in it because I didn't watch it.
One was it was alright.
What's her name? Rodriguez.
Michelle Rodriguez is still in it.
Okay.
And it was one where they had Don Omar and Tego Calderon.
I remember that. I didn't watch it, but
that
I remember.
One was good too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's projected to come out 2018. I'm excited about that. And speaking of the big black and bold and beautiful men,
okay.
Terry Crews.
Oh yeah.
Just sent out a tweet in response to the allegations that happened with Harvey Weinstein regarding sexual harassment. Years and years of sexual harassment.
Yeah.
Terry Crews's, I don't know if it's Terry Crews's. Terry Crews' response was he talked about his actual experience, not with of sexual assault, not particularly with Harvey Weinstein, but with an upper exec. And what he said happened in so many Twitter stories was that he was at a party with his wife, and one of the higher execs grabbed his genitalia, in front of his wife, and he kind of just, his reaction was of course caught off guard, but just kind of looked at him and looked at his wife, and his wife saw it, and the exec just laughed and walked away. And the reason why he said that he reacted that way was because he was afraid of how the media would have spun it, and especially what would happen to his career. Him being this, big black man, he would have been the one that was blacklisted and vilified, and probably put in jail. And I think it speaks to a lot of what I think black men go through when things like that happen. Not just
them particularly.
Yeah, it's the reason why Obama speaks the way he does and respond the way he does. It's the way.
What do you mean? Always have to be cautious of how you're perceived as a black man.
In every step of the way you have to choose your words wisely. You have to move in a certain way. You have to always.
You can't be too big. Can't be too loud. Can't be too tall. Even when you're tall and big.
Right.
You try to be smaller.
You always have to make the white man comfortable. So
in this case, white women too. Comfortable.
Yeah.
And he was saying all that, saying he understands how people, particularly women, do not share when they are assaulted, harassed, or raped, because that has happened to him. And if he was silenced, then of course other women,
will be silenced. Yeah.
That was wonderful to show. See.
I'm glad he spoke out about that. Yeah. Other people spoke out as well, Gwyneth Paltrow and Angelina Jolie,
all in support or in disgust.
Which usually is the same thing with Bill O'Reilly, where it was just then people started kind of coming out. I have mixed feelings about it because I do understand that it was a different time. So when it happened, like one of them stated that it happened in like the early 90s or something like that. So I do understand like the consciousness has changed. The
as
times
it pertains
are different.
to
just how, so a quick example is like how Ellen came out on her show in the 90s. She did it when it wasn't popular. You do it now, it's probably not as big of a deal, but when, you know, back then, just things weren't necessarily talked about the way things are talked about now. Things aren't documented the same way things are documented now. And I just overall, I think we both kind of discussed that the consciousness of people have kind of changed.
Yeah. Well, as it pertains to sexual harassment, sexual assault?
Well, no, more. I guess more so Well,
I'm trying to understand.
The consciousness of people have changed in the sense of people aren't taking it anymore.
Okay, that's what you're trying to. That's what I think you're saying. Yes, I think maybe 30 years ago, people were more. Were with ideology that boys will be boys. Okay. Boys will do things like that. Men do things like that. Maybe, but now the conscience is like boys will be held accountable for their actions.
I think we're also redefining. We call it redefining. It probably is going back to the state of what it was before colonialism and all that other stuff. But I'll just say, quote unquote, redefining, you know, what gender roles are, or what, just how we move in, I guess, spaces. We are changing that. Millennials aren't accepting the same things that
generations have.
Generations.
Yes. Shout out to the millennials. Shout out. I'm a millennial. You're a millennial.
I am. I barely made it though.
You an old millennial.
I barely made.
You an old millennial.
Motherfucking cusp. Yes, and I think also, you know, if generations before us, I should say before. Yeah, I said that right. If generations before us actually look at us as this is your son, this is your daughter. Like, you should want us to win as much as we want to win as well. And you should do everything in your power to make sure that the ones that are creating this movement, because we are now in the driver's seat, you should do everything, you know, to make sure that we are being moved in the right direction. You should help us, you know. I think, you know, people that are kind of holding us back or holding us down and saying this isn't the way, I don't know if that's necessarily right or the way. I don't know. I'm talking in circles. I'm talking around something.
There's a poem I want to work on, because you reminded me. I had this thought yesterday. It's like, I think some generations, many people before millennials, and maybe many generations think like this when they're like the youngest generation that's like in the working field. But I think generations before have kind of adopted status quo and been more okay with status quo, the way things are, and are okay with thriving within oppressive systems. And I find that more millennials and generations after us, like Generation Z, are not okay with thriving in oppressive systems. They want to change these systems, you know? I think this generation, even though they talk a lot of bad stuff about millennials, I think they really have changed the way we view the world and how we view people, and wanted to make it more progressive.
Yeah. And I will say, like, people like my mom, or, you know, people that provided us with more than that they had themselves, have given us somewhat a seed of a sense of privilege that has sparked something in us to think beyond the status quo.
Exactly.
And so
that is true.
It's, you know, I give thanks to them as well. They and our ancestors in general. Like, it's just always been this, you know, thing where it's just been this progression and this momentum for in consciousness and in just I guess just more than consciousness, the actuality. Like, yeah. I'm thankful for them. Thankful for our ancestors for the work they did.
Yeah. I heard you mention something about Miss Williams.
Oh, okay. So I actually got that information off of Wendy Williams regarding the Terry Crews and the Rock spinoff. But it took me almost I had to cut it midway because Wendy Williams, she be fucking up. But
oh my God, yes.
I will say this though, it's very, very difficult to do something on your own, all the way through live, like, and I think that's why it's really, really important to stay in touch with the people, baby.
You're trying to help her. What happened?
So Miss Wendy Williams was talking about the Nelly incident.
Oh,
yeah. So Nelly allegedly raped a woman in a tour bus, I think. But there's allegations of rape.
Yes,
being put against him. And
was he arrested?
I don't know if he was arrested.
Okay. Everyone's Twitter is not right. Okay,
yeah. So we'll just stick with allegations of rape. Nelly and the allegations of rape. And Wendy Williams said something that I actually couldn't even finish it. She said that women have to be careful not to put themselves. No, she actually said you shouldn't make sure you're not in. Like, she basically was blaming the girl for being in a place where she can actually be raped. Yeah, and she turned the blame to the victim instead of the person that actually did the heinous act.
You know what? I don't know. Maybe it's just me today. I'm like, I understand the logic of trying. Let me be careful with my words. I don't like the culture that we are from, where we blame the victim.
Right.
And not focus on I'm gonna just say the rapist, but because I'm not talking about Nelly right now. I'm talking about in general. Whenever there's an allegation of rape or assault, people always look to the person who was assaulted as a person who could have avoided all that situation. And they never really talk about or press the people who actually did the harm.
Yes.
Never. Wait, is that a vegan? Oh, vegan ice cream.
Vegan ice cream.
Oh, y'all. Thank you. Y'all, I'm having a little vegan ice cream break by our wonderful producer, Jody Mod. Wait, are these old?
Well, finish your thought. I don't want you to lose your thought.
This is a different. Is this old?
She gave us all ice cream. What is the expiration date on this?
It's not dairy.
All right, well, honey, if we explode
she's making it up.
from the anus, then you know what's happening.
Okay, so people always So people, we're taught to like say, they shouldn't have been in this situation. Right. And not give enough energy of understanding that people wouldn't be raped if rapists didn't rape. People wouldn't be murdered if murderers didn't murder.
Say it one more time.
We don't give enough energy to that. And today I'm like, because I'm like, Wendy is somebody's auntie and somebody's mama. So maybe she's trying to tell more women and femmes to protect themselves to avoid trash ass men. Honestly, and I hear that, but like.
So this is the thing. The episode that she released today, she actually apologized for the words that she said. Okay. And she tried to speak of her personal experience. She couldn't get through it. This is what I saw. She did the cry, and I think it was genuine, and I do. Just speaking from personal experience, it is very difficult to when you talk about those experiences, you relive those experiences. And also, I might say that I can talk about my incident now, but then when it really comes to talking about it in detail, it's very difficult for me to get through it. And so I do understand where she was coming from with that. Her apology was not. I knew what she was trying to do, but when she tried to explain the apology, I don't think it actually came off good. She didn't do well in the apology, but I contribute that to she thought she could probably do something, and then when she got in the chair and started actually trying to talk about it, it she couldn't get through it. And I think that's what happened with that moment. But I think it's very important to, just say, like, it's because it was said to me, and sometimes somebody else has to say it for you to really understand or to really get the message that it's not your fault. There was nothing you could have done different to, make someone not do what they did. You know, it's a savage thing. So, whenever they get the opportunity, they're going to take it. It's in them. It's not you. It has nothing to do with you at all.
It has nothing to do with you. It doesn't,
And always I like to tell people, just because you lost control in one moment does not mean that they have control over your life. So it's just really, really important to know, like, that was one moment, but you have control over your life. Although that was one moment, but ultimately
or continuous moments. But that incident, you can still, you don't have to. One, seek support, and then know that the person does not have to.
Nice.
That as a person doesn't own you.
All right.
Bless Wendy.
Bless Wendy. She tried.
She always tried.
I
need her to do, not just try.
I cannot speak from the place of a 50, 60-year-old woman, but
do y'all hear these motorcycles? Every time. Motorcycles, exotic birds, helicopters.
Not motorcycles and exotic birds.
Dogs.
Where are we?
Give me what you got.
I was listening to a BBC. Oh, sorry. I was listening to a BBC little podcast, and so they play all of these different clips of country artists talking about their guns, right? And so how they wanted to talk about... Shut up.
BBC the network, not Big Black Cock.
Oh, shit. Yes, I'm talking about British Broadcasting Central...
Channel?
Oh, my goodness. We are not going to get through this. It's not gonna be 30 minutes. Okay. But BBC... So, and I think they brought some really good correlations in regards to, like, how people in the country music lovers, I don't know, I shouldn't say redneck.
No, just why country.
Why? Well, how they have country. A lot of gun pride, and so I wanted you to kind of just weigh in a little bit on that. Okay, that's fine. You're just gonna mess me up on this.
Weigh in on my thoughts on. They said how country music is tied to this gun culture.
Yeah.
In Las Vegas. I agree. I was talking to some folks about one. I love country music. Okay.
Oh, you do? I forgot about that.
Oh. Don't say so your southern ass talking about
I do not like country music. I like blues.
Okay, blues, yes. Blues. Country is black. Country is blues, R&B.
All right.
I mean, country.
But all right.
I'm not. It's literally roots are in blues and R&B. It literally roots there.
No, that is true.
But I like country. What I say
so
is,
do they not talk
white.
about guns and stuff?
Okay, when you think of country music, you got to think of the South, and the South is proud, full of pride.
Gun toting.
Yeah, so of course it relates. Even though you think of rap, they say like violence and shit, but country music, they have Southern and white Southern pride, which is violent and very particular. So yes, it makes sense.
Like country music promotes guns. Period. Yeah. So I thought it was a interesting correlation. Only because I don't listen to country music, so I didn't know about it.
I got my truck, I got my gun, I got my girl. Pretty much all. And I'd be like, I don't have any of those things. But I like the stories. The stories are so good. Some of them. And very heteronormative, too. Like, I want to be a Black country queer singer. That'll be great. Maybe I should have Halloween be a Black queer country singer.
Darius Rucker?
He is not queer. That we know of.
I wish I could remember what you wrote.
I said, and so I don't really like country music. Like, all my favorite country songs are not talking about guns.
Something about. Oh, okay.
And what I think you're talking about, what I wrote on my Facebook, I said, if we want to have a conversation about gun policy, what they say, gun control?
Gun control, gun policy.
Gun policy, then we really got to have a conversation about white people. That's in. That is the beginning and that is the end. Because white people are the ones that problem with the guns. And white people are the ones who have majority of the guns. And white people are the ones who want to keep guns. Like, they are the ones who are always talking about their rights to have guns. And a part of the country where there's so few relegations on guns is in the South. Or Republican states.
Mm-hmm. No, that is very true.
Yeah. And so they are the ones committing mass shootings, mass murders. And so if we want to have conversations about like gun policy, then you have to have conversation about white and violence. That's pretty much it. That's what I said.
All right. Thank you.
And now I'm going to get all this hate mail because of you.
Let me add something. I mean, you know, the way I was looking at it, I was just like implementing stricter policy and procedures. I mean, you are talking about like the root, and I'm just more so talking about having shorter, like having a renewal on the license and having stricter policy in regards to what magazine size you have and what type of gun you have, you know, buying semi-automatics, that the guns, I thought when it came, growing up in the South, it was for quote unquote hunting.
Right.
And so it's like, there's no reason for you to have a semi to hunt. Like, you know, so psychological evaluations every so now and then, just different things that I think you can implement to make stronger gun control. So like the police in London, they don't have guns. And that's why you can, like, look at these other countries that, you know, when it comes to mass shootings, they're, like, super low. They're, like, 2 digits, you know, if that.
There was a statistic that was out. The country with the most guns are the countries with the most gun violence and most mass murders. And clearly the United States is number 1 in that list. Yes.
They also, what I thought was interesting that on the podcast that they talked about the British government conducting an audit on the unemployment rate, and they noticed that the Black and BOC was almost double when it compared.
The Black and BLC?
POC.
People
like
of
all
color. People of color?
Yeah, well, yeah, just like, other people of color. Were almost double compared to their white counterparts. And they also did another analysis that showed that poor white people in the UK, that they don't do well in primary school, but when it comes to getting a job later on in life or owning a home, they exceeded with flying colors. So compared to Black and other people of color. And so, although that information has already been known, they're trying to figure out why that is happening. Not why that is happening, but what they can do to bridge the gap. To make it so that there's true justice and equality, I guess.
Oh, well, that's cool. I wish, so the government is doing that there?
The government is
looking at institutional racism and trying to change institutional racism in the UK. That's so interesting. Like one of the birthers of all these systems is like looking to how to fix things. Anyways, that's cool. The United States, I mean, we have researchers here, institutions here who look and examine injustices.
I noticed that when it comes to like, so you know how you fill out that like EEO What is it called? What is it called? The affirmative action, like, questions or...
Okay.
It'll ask, like, are you a veteran? And then it'll ask if you're male. And then it'll ask for your race. And it'll usually be, like, your ethnicity and then ask for, like, your race. But when I was applying for jobs in the UK, it asked, you know, it would say male, female, transgender, both sex. It would ask all of that. And then it would ask, it was more specific when it came to race. There was, like, a whole bunch of different... It was divvied up in race, ethnicity, and different cultural backgrounds.
Right.
So, versus just how, like, simple ours was, theirs was way more complex. So, I thought it
better?
If it's in alignment of what it's... If they're trying to do a true diversity hire, it is. But if they're not using it for that, then no. I was under the impression that those questions were not mandatory to answer.
Like here.
Yeah.
Like here in California particularly. Because like we don't have affirmative action in California.
What is it here?
We have nothing. That's the thing.
So why are they asking the questions?
It's for like data. Because in California, just like universities, there's no affirmative action.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it's no affirmative action here. So that's why there are other programs that help, like in universities, particularly.
I think they call it ethics something then, right?
No, particularly in California, there are programs that aim to increase minoritized population at the university because it was voted not to use affirmative action here, which is horrible. But that's what exists all over the country. But like in California, we don't have affirmative action. And it's the same. We also have a clause where we don't discriminate based on race, color, religion. That is federal. You can't discriminate people based on like identity. But we don't have affirmative action here.
Oh, well, that's nice to know. Just learned something right now. Bam. Thank you very much. But I thought it was interesting that I think it's interesting that stuff that people of color have been saying all along, they're finally, I don't know, doing studies. That specific podcast reminded me of a Vice YouTube that just came out. I know because we've had like all kind of interruptions and stuff happening. A Vice thing that came out about the Twitter bots. And it's like these Twitter bots that have like avatars. One was black and one was white. And it would automatically respond to different Twitter accounts that would say racial slur. And it would kindly respond and basically say, hey man, you know, you need to understand that there's people behind this Twitter, da 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 da. And they realized that with when the black Twitter bot would say something, they would actually use more slur and derogatory like words and actually get angry. But with the white avatar said something, then they were more prone to listen, which was something that you've already that goes back to like a conversation you had about having like white allies and white people speak on your behalf about certain topics
to their white
counterparts,
siblings,
their
kinfolk.
So I thought it was really, I thought it was interesting. But I also, the way they did it was they had a black person sitting and the white person was delivering the message, and so it was kind of like the black person. That was his story, but they had the white person
tell the story. Exactly.
And so he just
people will listen.
There. Yeah. And then afterwards, he like dapped him up or whatever. So it was kind of funny.
Good
but
job,
I thought that was Vice is so innovative when it comes to like their news and stuff like that. Their journalism, I should say. But yes, that was one thing that I wanted to speak on. Today is National Coming Out Day.
Today is National Coming Out Day in the US of A.
Yes.
National Coming Out Day, for those who don't know, commemorates
story.
a march on Washington, I think in 1987. For, at the time, it was gay and lesbian rights. Since then, and it happened on October 11th. Did I say that already? Probably did. Anyways, since then, it has been marked the day for folks to come out, share their coming out stories, encourage other folks to come out if they can. And so many people, if y'all were paying attention, if y'all have queer people in your lives, some of them share the coming out story on all their social medias. So I just wanted to happy National Coming Out Day to you because I know that you like penis and you have a penis. So that's your...
That's my coming out? That's just me coming. That's not my
I just know that's, you're one of the queers, I guess. Mm-hmm. That's all I want to say. Happy National Coming Out Day to you. If you want to share a funny coming out story, I mean, we have many. You come out to different people all the time, or I don't know.
Oh, well, that was really... I have a really short one. I was 14. That's how old you are in, like, 9th grade, right?
Yes.
14. So I was 14... And I accidentally, not crashed, but I side-swiped my mom's door. And,
car door? House door?
The car door. Yeah, so I was like turning, I cut it too quick. Okay. I just didn't know what I was doing, basically. And I fucked up her shit.
Okay.
And... I was in trouble, and I knew that I was going to have to explain it to her, so I was explaining it to her, and with that happening, I was getting in trouble for something else, too, and so I just decided to tell her so I could just lump in all my trouble together.
What?
That's how I always thought. It was like,
so get it all over with.
I was like, fuck, I'm already in the shit, so I might as well just get all my shit out right now so to just be all together and then I don't have to, it won't be spread out, And my mom was just like...
Smooth shit.
She was just like, why do you always do this? Like, why do you always...
Give me all the things.
Give me all the things all at once. And then after that...
And I'm also failing science.
I was like, yeah, like I was failing science. That's why it happened in night school. I was failing chemistry. And so, all of that, and then she just... she said, why are you always doing that? And then she said, why didn't you tell me earlier? And then I was just 14 like, kind of looking at her like, yes, I'm 14. Like, what was I supposed to tell you in like middle school, like elementary? But,
they do that now.
But no, that's what I was going to say to her, whatever you call it.
To her future...
benefit of the doubt. Like, I knew way early. Okay. So I could have told her earlier, but I think 14 was young enough. So,
that's nice.
Yeah, it was pretty good.
Okay, I want to share a funny one. Oh, I share a funny one. I never talked, I at that point hadn't talked to my dad about my queerness. And so, but I was in college at this point. I think I was a sophomore, 19 years old, I think. And I was invited, and I was working in the cross-cultural centers at the university, and I was programming around, like, LGBTQIA identities. And I was invited to go to on the radio and talk about, that was when like bullying was happening. Oh, it still happens, but like that's when the country started talking about like gay bullying, gay bashing,
internet and stuff.
Yeah, and suicides. And so I was invited to come to the radio and talk about that, and talk about the things that I was creating at that time. And at that time, I created like a mentorship program for like high school LGBTQ folk. So, and I was so excited that I was invited to be on the radio and talk about it. I sent a text, and at this point, text wasn't even like...
Oh, did it still cost money?
No, it didn't cost money at that point.
Oh.
It was with my plan.
It used to be like 10 cents,
10 cents a text
or something.
But
or
I sent
character or some craziness.
Right. I sent a text to people, like my mom, my dad, my cousin, friends, and I was like, check me on the radio. I'm going to be on the radio this time. Ooh. And then I went on the radio, like, and I was just like, whatever. I went on the radio and I did my thing. I was great. Talked about being queer. Talked about just all the stuff, the things I was doing. And then I turned my phone on and I had all these messages, like voice messages. And one was from my dad, and he was like, yo, Chaz, I heard you on the radio. You did a good job. Call me back. I want to talk to you about some things. And I want you to know. And this is what he said. It was like really great. And I was still nervous. He was like, I want to let you know that I still love you regardless of things like that. And it took me like a couple days to call him back because I was like, I've never.
You weren't ready. Yeah.
Right, I wasn't ready. I was just like, check me on the radio. Oh God! So that was funny.
That's actually funny.
Yeah.
Oh, and I think it says a lot when the father, like, I don't know, it's something about a man accepting his son for, you know, who he truly is. It's kind of it's something I'm not so familiar with. I know when the reason also that I had to tell my mom was because my father threatened to tell my mother when he found out when I visited him here in California in 2000. So 2003, I think. Might have been 2000, 2003, I can't remember. But yeah. So it was one of those things I had to tell her before he told her.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I think that's really nice. Like this.
I mean, it's an expectation for me, actually. I hear you. You're like, it's really nice, and I'm like, but they should anyway.
It
so they're not getting props.
You're right. We can't congratulate people for what they supposed to do.
Exactly. God damn it. We cannot do that. No,
okay.
You must do that. So that's why that should come in our story.
I love it.
Y'all want to share y'all can email us, text. No, don't text
email us at the Blaq BLAQ2 and
at Gmail.
I swear to God, next month we gonna do better. We are really trying to get our shit together so it's some continuity and like just on a fucking schedule. All right, sorry we went over today. It was trains and birds and
But before we leave, we want to also share with you all a wonderful poem by a dear friend of ours and also a podcast sibling. The podcast is called Dem Black Mamas. That's DEM space Black space Mamas. And by Thea Monnier. And she's a poet. And it's called Sway.
Yes.
So enjoy it.
I overhear the woman on the train beside me talking about the massacre in Las Vegas. She's asking the person on her iPhone, what's the matter with people? The other passengers on the train continue to sway, as though we are not a stranger's bullet away from being that next news story, as though we didn't vote against the best interest of the person sitting right next to us, as though the paychecks that we are headed to work to earn on this overcrowded train destined to crash at any moment will change our lives. As though the loved ones that we failed to forgive this morning aren't a text away from a car wreck. As though binging isn't another word for depression, as though anxiety hasn't become a rite of passage, as though police presence makes me feel safer, as though he is really president, as though men will stop raping if we change our outfits, as though white people will stop white peopling if we are more patient, as though we believe in reoccurring hurricanes and earthquakes without human intervention, as though Barbuda has not been devastated, as though Puerto Ricans aren't U.S. citizens, as though being a U.S. citizen entitles us to indiscriminate empathy and media coverage, as though the Virgin Islands aren't worthy of aid or attention or mention, as though white men aren't the greatest perpetrators of violence in human history, as though white women don't lie and aren't the greatest perpetuators of violence in human history, as though being gay is a choice and being trans is a crime, as though gender is fixed, as though some of our tears are heavier than others, as though flags equal morals, as though children are not whole people, as though elders are not whole people, as though tomorrow is a given and time is on our side, as though pride won't be the death of us, as though plants and animals don't feel as though we are not animals, as though we don't feel as though earth doesn't feel as though she is not woman, as though she is not mother, as though we love our mothers, as though we don't need our fathers, as though none of this can be fixed, as though perspectives can't shift, as though laws create themselves and can never be changed or challenged, as though hope is still enough, as though love is enough, as though pain just goes away with time, as though we were meant to do all of this alone, as though lies told often enough become truths, as though truths don't matter, as though thoughts don't become matter, as though thoughts can't change matter, as though we don't create our thoughts, as though the thoughts that we create don't matter, as though the thoughts that we create don't become matter, as though we don't create matter, as though we didn't create this and then ask, what's the matter? As though the matter at hand is not a matter of life and death, as though life doesn't matter, as though this life is not created by the thoughts that we decided matter, as though we cannot wake up tomorrow and decide to create new thoughts that create new matter that really fucking matters. What's the matter? It's us. We are the matter, and still we continue to sway.